and I am joined by the ladies of the girls basketball team. We have senior Sydney Wadekus, Taylor Brinklow, Kate Earl, and Coach Amy Quinn. Thank you for coming into the studio.
Thanks for having us.
So, Coach Quinn, I'll start with you. What I like to ask the coaches is sort of almost give like a report card. Like if you were to, assess the season, obviously it's a different season with the pandemic and, certain limitations, but if you were to give a grade on the season, what would you give?
I think we are starting at a solid C in the beginning, but we really, they improved so much. I think we definitely hit some adversity in the beginning. We didn't get as many practices as we would have liked before our first game just because different things with quarantine. But I think throughout the season and really when we hit that Medfield game and beat them in overtime, that kind of like hit the ground running and they just slowly improved every game.
And Kate, I'll start with you because representing the seniors. What would you say was your favorite moment? Obviously, like Coach Quinn said and what I said, it's a different season, but in terms of, we talked to a lot of athletes in the fall and their biggest thing was like, well, they got to play. So what was sort of the mindset of the seniors?
Well, obviously what Coach Quinn was just talking about, that Medfield game was awesome. Beating them in overtime, like after losing to them, it was awesome. To get back like 2 days after, we lost by like 20 and then win in overtime, it was awesome. And then also just having like that first practice where everyone was finally there, I think that was probably a highlight. Like people were in quarantine, so we were starting practices with like 10 kids. So getting back to finally having everyone in the gym was probably a highlight of the season.
And Sydney, I'll turn it over to you. In terms of the actual style of play, obviously the EEA and the MIA laid out certain guidelines regarding free throws and spacing on the bench, but did you feel that the pace of the game or the style of the game was drastically different or maybe a little bit different?
I feel like even though there were like different rules and everything, I feel like at the beginning it was a little bit of like an adjustment, but I feel like once we got used to it, it was like just the same game, basketball.
And Taylor, I'll ask you this question. In terms of like team spirit and character, did you feel that obviously with the differences in play that it sort of brought the team together a little more?
Yeah, I would say so. Because like Coach said at the beginning of the season, we were starting like, I don't think we had everyone fully at practice until like 2 days before our first game. So I think it took a little bit for people to get into it, but yeah.
And from a coaching standpoint, obviously you said that it was sort of a little bit of a rough start with the first couple games with the quarantine and everything. How does that change the mentality from a coach in terms of like scouting and trying to figure out where teams are? Is it different knowing that, you sort of have to play from behind by default?
I don't think we were necessarily playing from behind just because we had such a strong team last year. And I think that was a good thing. And also we just had such high expectations going in that those first couple losses were like, wait, what's going on? But in the past, we've always had, like in December, we've always had that like one really bad loss. And then we're like, okay, let's try to. So I feel like that kind of just was condensed this season because we were starting in January. We were playing every 2 games, the same teams. So it doesn't necessarily change it from a scouting standpoint, just that we were playing the same team. So we wouldn't have that like 4 weeks to get better for the next team. Like you're playing one team a Tuesday and then you're playing the same team Friday. So there's not too many adjustments that you could have made. But I thought overall the girls did a really good job adjusting to that.
And I think this particular senior group, and this is sort of an open-ended question for anybody, this particular group is sort of the foundation of what has become a very, very strong girls basketball program here. So if you guys just want to touch upon what you think for the future of the program in general, this group, laid a strong foundation and how you feel going forward.
I'll let them go and then I'll talk.
Okay. Well, when we were freshmen, the team was not what it is today, and being able to see that growth like through the 4 years, I just hope that it continue even better. Like next year, I hope like we get to come back and see them in the state championship game.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
And Coach?
I would say that these 3, I said it at the last game that these 3 really kept the team together this year. Like I said, we had a little bit of a rough start, but these 3 were always the ones that we were kind of playing for. I'm devastated for the 3 of them that they didn't really get the senior season that they deserved because, to be honest, we had a very high outlook this year. We were ready to go. But like they said, they I mean, they're one of the few classes that I had all 3 of them, all 4 years, and just to see that growth, like Kate said, and just to see them be able to lay that foundation. I said at the end, each of these 3 are very, very special, and they each bring something really unique to the table. So I just really hope that the girls that are returning kind of take a little bit from each of them and continue that tradition, that winning tradition that we've had the last couple of years.
And sort of bigger picture here, you know, your basketball career at Norwood High is over, unfortunately, but you're moving on to bigger and better things. So what do you guys take away from this season, whether it's basketball related or non-basketball related? What's your biggest takeaway?
I would say, like, even though things, like, with our season, we weren't expecting it. Obviously, like, last year, we didn't expect it to be the way it was. But I think, like, a big takeaway is that, like, even though something's going to be different, it doesn't mean that it's going to be bad, and you can, like, learn a lot from it. So.
You just have to kind of make the best out of a tough situation.
Yeah, same with them. I think like learning about working through adversity and keeping a positive attitude can like make a big difference.
Well, listen, despite the circumstances, it was an awesome to watch you guys play. A very strong season overall. So thank you guys for coming in.